Seeing it as it is 5:30, we will commence. Before we call the meeting to order, I'll ask staff to take roll call, please.
Please say here when I call your name. Michael Abrahamson.
Here.
Alan Barnett. Here. Please remember to turn on your microphones. Babs DeLay. Here. Carlton Getz.
Present. Yeah, here.
Emily Kearns.
Here.
Adrian White.
Here.
Thank you. We have a full quorum.
All right. Now that we've confirmed we have a quorum, I will call the meeting to order. Before we get too far into the meeting, I'd like to note that if anyone has a comment to make, either as a general comment or on an agenda item today, you may fill out one of these cards that's available outside the door and deliver that to a member of the planning staff or to the chair. In addition to that, just as a reminder, this is, of course, an open public meeting. I would ask that everyone be sure to speak clearly into the microphone so that the proceedings can be properly recorded, and just be aware that, of course, everything is part of the public record. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, and I understand that Adrian has an amendment.
The minutes for July, the commissioners in attendance had an error. It said that Michael was there, and so my name needs to replace his name because he was actually absent, which is also listed on those minutes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then Alan's last name was spelled incorrectly lower in the minutes for one of the votes.
Okay. Do we have those changes noted? All right.
Okay, while we're on that, I noticed that, I don't know if it's our stock sort of introduction on our minutes. It says like the roll, and roll is spelled wrong.
I will get that fixed.
I mean, it's spelled the wrong, like the wrong kind of roll, is that what I'm saying? And then the other thing I did notice, because that's all I caught was spelling things, that Bab's name is not consistent. Delay, I'm not sure how, like one place it was capital DE space capital LAY. So it should, yeah, it's two words. And some places, there were some places where it was combined into one word, and so I just thought maybe consistency on that would be good.
Just a reminder to the commission that you are and should reach out to me prior to the meeting so I can get that fixed and we can get these approved rather than delay the approval on these. Because now that I have to make these amendments, we do have to push them back. Okay.
All right. Appreciate the comments, and we will submit those for reviews. All right. We will defer approval of minutes until those edits are made to the next meeting. I, as the chair, do not have a report this evening. However, Vice Chair Barnett does.
I just wanted to report that this month, Preservation Utah is holding a historic homes tour in my neighborhood, in the Fair Park neighborhood. Yeah, Fair Park. And there's going to be a lecture, which I'm going to be giving on the 11th at the Day Riverside Library, and then the tour is on the 18th. So I just wanted everybody to know about that. It's an opportunity to get out, and there's going to and there are going to be some interesting homes on the tour. I know which ones are on, so it will be an interesting tour. So
great, thank you. Report of the director. Does the planning staff have a report?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Some updates on some zoning amendments. I think it would have been last year that you received a briefing on, sorry. Can't hear? Is that better? Okay. It might have been last fall when you received a briefing on the mixed-use zoning consolidation. That will be in effect next week on October 8th, so keep that in mind. And then in the spring, you received a briefing on the RMF 35 and 45 zoning amendments. Those are going before the City Council next week on Tuesday for a briefing. There were a few updates made to the proposal. the height was reduced for zoning incentives and a few other things, so you're welcome to tune into that. And then the Capitol Hill small area plan or general plan, you'll be getting a briefing on that in the next month or two as well. That's going through an update process. Okay, that's all we have.
Okay, thank you. We'll move into general public comments. This is a session for anything not specifically related to an item on the agenda. I have one comment card from Cindy Cromer.
It went green. Good. So my comment was going to focus on one building, the former library, now the former Leonardo, and some of the stories behind it. But I'll try to catch you individually and explain how the Leonardo and the soccer complex are related. But then there's two other worthy structures hit my radar, which is, of course, my relationship with historic buildings. I have radar, and they just show up in my life. So the former Leonardo has faltered for years. I remember hearing that the latest appointment to the board was going to turn things around. The building should have become offices for city departments when the library relocated. That was the logical use for that structure. It would have brought city departments that are scattered all over together, and people could have communicated and learned from each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing city departments come together in that building. It's what should have happened back a long time ago. In the meantime, we should all stop by to see Ken Sanders. It will be good for our mental health, and it will be good for his business while the rest of the building is getting repurposed.
Can you turn your microphone on, please?
Is he going to move out of
I
there?
would not attempt to predict what Ken Sanders is going to do ever. Go ask him. The Northwest Pipeline building, designed by Slack Winburn, is one of the few mid-century buildings downtown. The telltale reverse graffiti on the windows indicates that people are getting inside. I sent you a photograph. It's hard to see the reverse graffiti in the photograph, but you can see the graffiti on the walls very clearly. The graffiti was removed from the top of the building last week. There's trash around the property. We don't just lose a historic resource if this building burns. We lose the only opportunity I see for rent-to-own housing. This is really serious that this building be protected. And then the chapel, which is now at the once again Holy Cross Hospital, has a new roof. It's unfortunately black, but it's new. And the chapel is in a good place on that site only if you're Catholic. It's right in the middle of the block. So we're fortunate that Holy Cross has returned, because Holy Cross will think that having a chapel in the middle of your property is not a bad idea. IASIS had no way of appreciating the location of the chapel, and I'll get more information about the chapel's future, but I would never re-roof a structure prior to demolishing it, so I think this is good news. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. We will move into the public hearing section of our meeting. I will note before we proceed that the first agenda item, which was the modification of new construction at approximately 136 South, 700 East, that agenda item has been postponed for a future meeting, so that will not be addressed this evening. We will proceed to the next agenda item, which is a rear addition at approximately 317 North B Street, case number PLNHLC 2025-00656, presented by the planner, Aaron Barlow.
Thank you. Let's turn this on. There we go. Thank you, Aaron Barlow, Senior Planner. So the reason we've brought this request, my goodness, that echo, it's going to bug me the whole time. Okay, great. The purpose of this request is for an addition in the rear yard of the property located at approximately 317 East Street. The reason we're bringing it to the commission is that It's generally larger in scale. It's visible from the street. It's not quite compact enough or really staff did not feel comfortable just approving it administratively, so we've brought it to you for your opinion. The property is located here, 317B. It's close to Memory Grove Park, LDS Hospital. That block has many different types of housing, apartments, single-family houses, duplexes, larger homes, smaller homes, the whole slew, which is characteristic of the avenues. The request had a few modifications as well to base zoning regulations that the Historic Landmark Commission has authority to modify. The first is for max building height for 8 additional inches, and this is to accommodate a design that better fits the cottage revival style of the building with the steep roofs. A max wall height of 3 additional inches. This is because the rear addition is in the back, and instead of having it take up the side yard and be visible from the front, they've kept most of the addition in the rear, which then takes up backyard, and because it encroaches into the backyard, the allowed maximum wall height is reduced, but this is just for 3 additional feet on that wall height. On the north side, the first floor of the building will encroach 1 foot into the side yard, and that's to keep it out of view from downhill and to keep it away from a tree on the site. The rear yard setback, also asking a reduction, which again I've mentioned is to keep the building in the back of the property and not to the side or to the front. And then a slight increase in max building coverage, and I can discuss that further, but essentially because half their driveway is a shared driveway and it's not actually their property, but in the scale of the neighborhood it fits. So just to give you some context, here's the existing site plan. On the right there is B Street. The shared driveway is on the bottom here. And a modest-sized home. You can see the tree in this bottom corner right here. The proposed addition is located, for the most part, wholly behind the existing residence. It'll be roughly the max height of 23 feet, except for the peak of that dormer, which I will show you in just a bit. You can see they had to accommodate this tree. The setback for 36 inches or 3 feet is over here on the north side against a retaining wall, and the rear yard right there, 15 feet and 11 or so inches. We'll start with the south elevation, which is probably the most visible elevation out of all of the sides of the addition. You can see the spot where the maximum height encroaches above the 23 feet is the peak of this roof. And in order to accommodate that roof pitch and to have livable space in the addition, they asked for that additional 8 inches of height. Also along here, you can see that the proposed windows have those muttons or divided lights to sort of reflect the cottage revival style windows that are present on the building. On the front here, you can see one thing I wanted to point out, and I pointed out in the report, is that elevations tend to flatten how a building is perceived from the street. You can see here the roof line of the addition sits much higher than the existing house, but when viewed from the street and from the front, because it sits so far back and because of the angle of where you're viewing it from the street, this section of the roof along here along the top would not be visible from the street. And you can also see here they've added this detail to the part of the garage that sticks out in order to reflect that roof pitch as well. The north elevation is the least visible, or second least visible elevation. There is a retaining wall that goes approximately this high along the side of the property as well. You can see not quite the same details, and that's usually acceptable because it's not a primary facade of the proposal. And then towards the back, they continue those window styles, but not as many details on that south facade. Some of the proposed materials, they plan on using smooth finish fiber cement lap siding, using modern materials to differentiate the addition from the original house. And then having fiberglass double hung windows, again, having a different material, more modern than what's on the house. And staff recommends approval because it meets applicable standards and design guidelines and will not damage or destroy the historic character of the property or the Avenue's local historic district.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions for the planner before we proceed?
I just have one quick question. Do you know if the homeowners are planning on applying for tax credits in any capacity?
I have not heard
Okay.
one way or another. I can't
Okay.
say.
Thanks.
And are fiberglass windows allowed? Remind me.
Yes, fiberglass is a listed material in the design guidelines,
Thank you.
especially on additions. Maybe if it was on the original house, we'd have a different conversation, but these are on the addition.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
did you have a question?
So, yeah, so they're asking for a variance 8 inches higher than what is allowed by zoning, is that correct?
We don't call it a variance because that's a very specific legal term for a waiver of the standards based on a hardship. This is a modification of the standards. Yes, they're asking for these 5 modifications to accommodate the historic
that's-
district.
Yeah, it's a modification of the zoning
Yes.
standard.
Mhm.
Which we are able to grant them if we
Yes.
think that it benefits the preservation of the neighborhood or whatever.
That's correct.
So, but that, do you know how much higher the roof is than what the roof on the existing house is?
I got the plans right here, so if you give me just a second, I can figure that out. Adobe's acting up, but I can find that for you in just a sec. So.
Aaron, if you don't mind, while you're doing that, is the applicant here or representative of the applicant to present?
There is a representative here, Scott Maruri, is available to answer questions about
Okay.
from the applicants. I'm happy.
While you're finding that, if I can go ahead and invite you up, just as a reminder, as a representative of the applicant, you have 10 minutes to provide any information that you would like.
Mr. Chair, I was able to find that difference. The existing home is 21 feet and just under 2 inches. And then the proposed is 22 feet and 9 1/4.
Okay, so about 1.5 foot differential. Okay.
Okay.
If you would, state your name first and make sure you get close to the microphone.
Okay. Hi, I'm Scott Maruri. I'm a neighbor of Peter and Mary. And if you have questions, I'll do that. First of all, I just have to say thank you. I appreciate what the commission does for the city, and especially when it comes to trying to protect. Thank you. That's the word. Protect our history. Anyway, I've been to their home a few times. We met 3 years ago on the street walking around, and what I find really interesting about what they're trying to do is their home sits below everything on the south and the north and the west of them, and then above the street, and so you almost really can't see it. That to me is very interesting based on what they're trying to do. I've had about 8 years in new construction, so I looked over the plans with them because they asked me to. I told them that they should get everything drawn out, and I feel like they've done a great job. I really appreciate the way they're approaching it, and as far as my information goes, I'm interested to support them in their endeavor for their home. And also, I just really appreciate that they're leaving the front of it as cute as it. I mean, it's so dang cute. It's so well done, and that they're not messing with it. So I guess that's all from me.
All right. Do any members of the commission have questions for the applicant?
I do. One thing that's not mentioned in the report, it doesn't seem, I guess this is kind of a question for Aaron, is the removal of the door on the side that would then be filled in with what is labeled brick to match the existing brick. And I guess I'm honestly more concerned about that than I am about the addition, because it seems to me that brick is often difficult to match, and I guess I'm wondering what the source of that brick is, if they have it laying around, if there's, yeah.
So it's a red striated brick. That's because of the age of the home. You can tell it's fairly newer. Those are pretty common on mid-century Ramblers as well. That is a type of brick that I have seen is easier to find than something, that's much older that's a clay brick or something like that. But we can add a condition that staff approves the style of brick if that seems appropriate.
I take issue there with that same area. Why is the door being eliminated? Why are you changing the size of your openings?
The way they've organized the layout of the interior, it works better and it's accessible by the garage. That door is not a defining feature. It's not listed in any survey. It's not, it's not a defining characteristic of the home, and it wasn't made of original materials either.
Okay, thank you.
I've got another question then. Since we're talking about the door, I guess what occurred to me is like that is one really obvious alteration to the original house, a side option. And I didn't see anything about the window. So the bottom of the door is being bricked up and a window's being put in. I didn't see anything about the window. What is the does the window, if they just came and asked and wanted to brick up that door and put a window in, would that meet the standards?
We would review it according to the standards. It would, depends on the material of that window that they're putting in there. But as I said, and it states in the report, those windows in the back half of the home are not original materials. They've been replaced far before we've looked at this today, on both sides of the house, on the north and the south side. You can see there, one of those is a sliding window, which is definitely out of character. It's not something you find in a home this old, but it's present.
I'll just jump in with a couple additions. We do a few times a year probably, we used to receive more applications for these types of kitchen changes because of the counter height or needs for, like, I think this one calls out a pantry, similar counter height needs to change an opening. And that is on an elevation like this, it is something that we have allowed in the past if they can find brick that matches.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. One moment, please. So we will move into the public comment section regarding this agenda item. If you have a question, you're free to express that during the public comment, and then the applicant can come back, or the planner can come back and respond at the end of public comments. That said, are there any individuals that would like to make a public comment regarding this agenda item? All right, seeing none, we will close the public comment section. Mr. Maruri, right? Do you have any other items that you'd like to add before we close the public hearing?
They did it. There was a letter included in the staff report from the applicants explaining, they couldn't make it. We sort of based on scheduling, and because this only meets once a month, they weren't able to make it to the meeting, but they've brought a representative.
Okay. All right. with that, we will close the public hearing and enter executive session for the commission to discuss the application. Does anyone have any comments to start the conversation? None whatsoever.
For me, the most important,
Could you get a little closer?
among the most important considerations in a remodeling project is how do your neighbors feel about it? And I feel like his endorsement speaks volumes, and so if he's willing to live next to it, then I feel like that's a yes for me.
I'm just wondering what are the real issues here? What are the questions that need to be considered?
Well, it's going to be anything that's related directly to the requested modifications. I mean, if none of those are an issue from a preservation standpoint in our view, then that's what we would proceed with on making a decision for. With that, is there?
Well, I guess my question is, it seems to me like, even though in the elevation, the front elevation, that addition looks really, really kind of towers over the house, but I think in reality, from the street, it won't be visible. So I don't think that's an issue. My only question is how visible is the addition from, down the street?
Yeah, so I mean,
And is it?
Have you been by it?
No.
Okay, I have. I live, up in the Alps. And it's in the really steep part of A. And so the west side falls into City Creek. So there's nobody on the west side. And it's high enough from this house that it's not doing anything there, or this house. And Scott lives in the neighborhood, and he doesn't have any issues with it. So these are so minor, and when you drive by, it's like, nobody's going to even notice.
So the part of the reason we brought it, is that okay if I jump in?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of curious
Yeah.
why the staff was, I'm not saying the staff shouldn't sort of, cautious on this one, but I guess what were the concerns that maybe the staff?
Wait, continue that thought and put it on the record, please.
Yeah, I want to know what are the issues the staff felt maybe needed to be adjudicated by the commission?
Yes, so the Preservation Interpretation Review team, after reviewing the elevations, especially that south elevation, felt that it was too large of a scale and too visible from the street for something for administrative approval, but we felt comfortable recommending approval to the commission. It was right there on that line, and we were not in agreement either as staff, but we wanted to err on the side of, keeping ourselves protected, essentially, and passing that authority on to you to make that decision. And yes, this south elevation would be moderately visible from the street, especially downhill from the opposite side of B Street. And that's another reason why we brought it, because it is visible, but it is appropriate. And so we wanted to, trying to balance those things can be challenging, especially when staff members don't agree on the details.
I would say from the street, looking straight at the house facing west, the house probably sits, I'm going to estimate, 10 to 15 feet at least above the street level. So you're looking up at it at a relatively steep angle, which is part of the reason that from a staff's perspective, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that adding that additional 8 inches or the extra 1.5 feet above the existing roof line is not going to be visible from a westward look. That said, the house is on, like Commissioner DeLay said, on a steep slope. It's got a driveway on the south side, and then directly to the south of that is a parking garage with a flat roof for the house that's even further south. Therefore, when you're going up B Street, the house, the subject property is high enough, and there's not another building in the line of sight, so that the south-facing facade of the house is pretty apparent. And that, I think, is part of the reason that staff really encouraged on the dormer side to match the angle of the roof closer to where the chimney is, further to the front. The rest of the garage is set back, I think, 4 to 5 feet from the face of the house. So it's a little bit recessed, but it's still not something that's going to be well hidden from that particular view.
Yeah, I guess that's the concern that I have is if it weren't on that really steep hill, it was just, you'd never see it if it were just a gradual slope. You wouldn't even notice the addition in the back, but so it does change. It looks to me like it really changes sort of the scale of the house. And, I don't know if that's enough of an issue or not, but that's the one concern. I guess that's the one concern that I have with the design.
No.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment, or do I have a motion? Did you want to make?
I was going to say, while folks were pulling up the motion sheet, I just wanted to say that I appreciate the effort that was put in the 8 design iterations in this. And I also appreciate seeing those in the staff report. That was incredibly helpful for me to be able to understand how the process unfolded and what improvements specifically were made in each iteration. So I just wanted to say thanks for including that.
Yeah, I think the staff did a good job of, because looking at those, seeing sort of the evolution, because you look at the beginning and it's like, oh no, that's nothing there's no way we could approve that. And, it's obviously the applicants were given some good guidance by the staff to bring it to where it is now, where it's like, okay, well, maybe this is something that we could approve, so.
I can make the motion. Based on the information presented in discussion, I move that the commission approves this minor alteration application as recommended by staff.
Second.
All right. Seeing as we have a motion and a second, we will proceed to the vote. Commissioner Abramson.
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett.
Aye.
Commissioner DeLay.
Aye.
Commissioner Kearns.
Aye.
Commissioner White.
Aye.
And I will vote aye as well, so the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That is the only agenda item we have for the public session, so we will close the public session and proceed into the staff conversation concerning the briefing concerning the Liberty Park CLR and Vision Plan update. Thank you, everyone. And for the record, I have the staff contact on this item as Catherine Sontag. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes,
Great.
thank you.
All right. Just again, as a reminder, please speak closely into the microphone and please introduce yourself for the record as well.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Sontag. I'm an associate landscape architect with Public Lands. And we are here this evening with our consultant on the Liberty Park Cultural Landscape Report and Vision Plan with an update. And I will turn the time over to them to introduce themselves and begin their presentation.
Good evening. My name is Tina Bishop, principal with Mundus Bishop, and we're here tonight to give you an update on our findings and some treatment guidance for Liberty Park, and happy to be here. I'm going to hand it to Kelly, who's going to do the majority of the presentation.
Hi, I'm Kelly Ream. I'm a senior planner at Mundus Bishop. It's good to be back. We've enjoyed working with the community and are excited to be here today to share an update on the CLR and the vision plan. So today we'll give a little bit of the project overview, where we're at, updates that have been made to the CLR since the last time we met in April. That includes the period of significance, introduce some of the treatment guidance that was included in the 75% draft that was shared with you all, and then talk a little bit about vision and guiding principles that supports those recommendations, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. So just as a reminder, this vision plan and a CLR are two standalone documents that are the outcome of the 2024 system-wide Parks Master Plan for the city, and they guide the preservation and the use of Liberty Park. So we kicked off the project last fall, and in June we submitted the 75% draft of the CLR. At that point, we also kicked off the visioning process and met with the community at the same time. We were here last week sharing with the community the findings of that 75% CLR, and also had the opportunity to ask for their input on the vision in the future for Liberty Park. And then here in the coming months, in early 2026, we'll be wrapping up both the CLR and vision plan concurrently to make sure that those two documents speak to one another.
Before you go back to that page, I'm sorry, I don't know all your what am I trying to say? Acronyms. Go to the page before. I don't know what a TAC is, or a CAC, or a HAC. What are these things?
Those are difficult to guess. So the TAC is the Technical Advisory Committee, so that's largely comprised of city staff. The CAC is the Community Advisory, and then I think that's all the
Great.
abbreviations.
Thank you.
Yep. So when we last met with you all in April, we discussed the period of significance a bit. And based on input from all of you, and then also discussions with SHPO, the Technical Advisory Committee and Community Advisory Committee, we've updated that period of significance. So when we initially submitted the draft, we were looking at a period of significance of 1800 to 1945. We've extended that period of significance to 1970 to capture all the features that are associated with the modern design movement. Notably, that would be the Rice Pavilion, Wilson Pavilion, and Tracy Aviary, and then, of course, the Central Promenade. At that point, the Central Promenade shifted from a vehicular route to the pedestrian promenade we all know today, and is really a character-defining feature of the park. So this updated period of significance of 1882 to 1970 does capture those features and that Central Promenade. That period of significance also captures the park for its embodiment of the American park, city beautiful, and modern movements. Liberty Park is significant as it's the central gathering place of Salt Lake City, and it's characterized by the Central Promenade, tree-lined walks and roads, meadows, groves of trees, buildings, and iconic views. The selected treatment, the recommended treatment for Liberty Park is rehabilitation. This supports the repair and preservation of contributing features that define the historic character of the park, and it also enables the park to continue to evolve to meet future needs of the community. Treatment supports the preservation and repair of contributing features, and the legacy of Liberty Park is the central gathering space of Salt Lake City. The guidance in the 75% CLR is organized by landscape characteristic, and we'll share some of those key recommendations today, and those relate back to the key findings that we shared in April. So what I've put up on the screen here is kind of a screenshot of the document. The text is very small, but we just wanted to kind of illustrate how we've highlighted recommendations, and they correspond to simple diagrams, kind of distilling down what the important character-defining features of the park are. So some of the recommendations we include shoot for the preservation of park composition. And when we talk about park composition, that's defined by the 9 spaces of Liberty Park that are defined by that Central Promenade, the Constitution Drive, and the building and spaces that are oriented to that Central Promenade. We also include key recommendations to preserve the contributing views. Those are views to the Wasatch Range, across the lake to Liberty Lake, and then also Mount Olympus. Some of the key recommendations for circulation include, of course, preserving that central promenade as the central axis of the park, retaining that historic alignment of Constitution Drive. Notably, both of those features were established before the creation of Liberty Park. They were established with Chase Mill. And to improve the entrances, repairing those historic monuments, and also improving access and mobility for all modes. There's also the exciting opportunity to repair non-extant circulation routes. Being out in the park in that northeast corner, you can look down and see alleys of trees, and those mark the locations of non-extant walks. One element that keeps on coming up in our discussions, both with staff and community, is the importance of the urban forest at Liberty Park. So there are a lot of recommendations to preserve and protect those vegetation patterns, to preserve and repair the tree alleys along the walks and roads. And today we were out in the park testing some of these ideas in more detail. So this is a recommendation that's currently in development, is looking at a succession plan for those alleys and the groves of trees through the park to ensure that we're repairing historic patterns, but also addressing needs related to water conservation and also climate change. The report also includes building treatment guidance. So we've organized this by building and really look at recommendations to preserve the historic settings of each of the contributing buildings. Some of these include the greenhouse guidance, which will help inform current planning and design of a future greenhouse, really providing recommendations related to the mass scale and orientation along the central promenade to preserve the historic character. And we've also included recommendations related to Tracy Aviary to maintain the historic and physical connections between the aviary and the park that really contribute to that historic character of the aviary within Liberty Park. And this is all leading us to a draft vision and guiding principles. So this is a common element that will appear in both the CLR and vision that we've worked with through the community. And what's risen to a top priority for everybody is maintaining Liberty Park as the central gathering space of Salt Lake City that offers diverse opportunities to gather, recreate for the next 100 years. And then, of course, guiding principles. So that's the update of where we're at now. I think it's important to note that, as these two plans are moving forward concurrently, we'll be testing the guidance that's been provided in the CLR to make sure that we're providing recommendations that preserve the historic character of the park moving forward. So I'll open it up and ask you all if there's any questions.
You had no mention of any public art. Is there planned for any? And what about the fountain of the Seven Peaks? What's being changed there? Why do we all look like deer in the headlights? Hello. Do we know?
We do have.
Excellent.
Yeah, the Seven Canyons is a separate project that's underway. I believe construction will be complete in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
The details of the project aren't related to the CLR. It was something that was happening previous to this document. We have kept it in mind. The original artist is the one who is making the changes to make it a dry installation, essentially, at this point. So there's no major changes to the footprint. There have been changes to the vegetation, clearing out some of the understory to have better views, to discourage some of the behaviors that have been happening in that area. So overall, we find it to be compatible with recommendations of the CLR, although this specific conversation wasn't sort of had simultaneously with this document.
Any public art?
So public art is documented in the objects and features section of the CLR, and we are providing recommendation regarding the placement and also design of future elements. But of course, providing flexibility so that we maintain the historic character, but it's not too prescriptive.
So the biggest history is Princess Alice. Are we going to have anything about her?
We have mention of her in the site history, but that's where we've noted the elephant, yeah.
So a plaque or something? Be great for public art.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely discuss.
I think for a lot of elder people, they remember, grandparents and great-grandparents remember when Tracy Avery wasn't there and it was a zoo, and Princess Alice took up the headlines forever because she was such a character. So that's a huge thing with me about the park. I mean, I love the park and I love the aviary, but the history of it is really rich.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I do. I just want to comment, I really appreciate that you have looked at it and extended the period of significance, because even as I was at the park the other day and I walked through, I kept, getting views of certain, some of the different modernist elements of the park that, to me, are part of the park's charm now. And it hadn't even occurred to me, until you just talked about it, how there is this modernist, this whole modernist element in the park, and that has become an important part of the character of the park. So I really appreciate that you re-examined that period of significance.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of that, I think it's really great that you brought SHPO into the conversation. Those are the people you want to be having conversations with. So I'm really grateful that you did.
I have a lot of friends, neighbors, clients that live around the park, and they have been complaining profusely about how the homeless have moved into the east end of the park. Anything to address that in a positive way?
I think by activation of the park, I had mentioned that northeast corner, and that's certainly one area. We're reintroducing some of those pathways so that, there's just more people in the area. And then looking at complementary uses to what's there. Specifically Rice Pavilion. There's the concrete volleyball court right next to it. I think that's one area where, where we're talking to the community about, a use that might activate that space a little bit more. So I think in general, activation is one way to address some concerns.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Kearns, did you want to say something?
Yes, in the staff report, I think it's page 92, it talks about taking out the topographic mound. What and why would you do that? It's an important feature. I mean, I'm like, not the hill.
So internally, that's something we've been talking about back and forth because that would be a very large undertaking. That was the site of the former band shelter, so there used to be, the connection, a visual connection to the mountains, and then also coming, from the north to the south, it was more of a direct visual connection to Liberty Lake also. But again, that would be a significant undertaking.
All right, any final thoughts or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes the business on our agenda today, and I will close the meeting.
and knowing is half the battle.